Jamaica is
Family time, 5:30 p.m.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to all of you who are listening live on Love 101, the family station. You're tuned in to Family Time, and we want to make special welcome to those who are listening via Facebook or YouTube Live. I'm Zidan, and I am your host for this evening. I must apologize on behalf of Reverend Marsha Lawrence Davids. She had all intentions of being here, but she's unavoidably absent this evening. And so I'll be filming as best as I can today. And you're listening to Family Time, as I said, and Family Time is all about your issues and your relationships, your at-home family, your community family, and your global family. Family Time is produced by Family Life Ministries, and our aim is to enable healthy families, which will lead to healthy nations. So stay with us and join in via our different platforms, Facebook and YouTube, which are live, and you can also follow us on Instagram. So someone made a list of about 70 pet peeves that they say basically everybody finds annoying. And we could say that 70 is a pretty small number. And with social media, we could say that the list is endless. So some of these pet peeves include constant or repetitive tapping, chewing sounds or noises, scraping chalkboard, cutting lines, people who talk during the movies. I definitely don't like that one. Bad grammar. Oh yes, that gets on my nerves. Always being late, leaving dishes in the sink, not putting things back in place. I really could be here all day listening out these pet peeves. But if you haven't already figured it out, today our discussion will be on pet peeves. And we want to find out, what is your pet peeve? How many do you have? And how do you deal with them? Why do these things annoy us? And then some people, it just seems to never affect. They're just oblivious. We really want to know. Tell us, what are your pet peeves and how do you deal with them? Send your responses via WhatsApp text, and you can voice note. Make sure they're no longer than 30 seconds to 876 997 3125. Or you can call the studio lines at 876 968 8327 or 876 968 8328 to participate. You can also watch and comment live on Love 101 Facebook and YouTube. We'll be right back with our special guest, Dr. Lakem Simaj. Don't go anywhere.
He rebelled against God and was cast out of heaven. And ever since then, he's been causing mayhem. Who or what is this spirit and agenda? Don't miss The Rock with Bishop Harold Steve Blair and guest Reverend Canon Garth Minot as they look at the topic, Satan. What makes him dangerous and why should we shun him? That's The Rock, Tuesday, March 28 at 10 a.m. right here on the family station Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Welcome back to Family Time on Love 101, and a special welcome to our special guest this evening, Dr. Lakem Simaj. How are you, sir?
I'm alive and well.
Indeed. That is a good place to be, sir. A very good place to be. Dr. Simaj is the founder and chief ideator of Above or Beyond and a transformational psychologist. Now remember, audience, we want to hear from you. Tell us, what are your pet peeves and how do you deal with them? WhatsApp your text and voice notes. Those voice notes should be 30 seconds or less to 876-997-3125. Watch us and comment on Love 101 Facebook and YouTube. Or you can call in at 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328 to participate. Boy, the time really going fast now. So let's get right into it, Dr. Simaj. What are pet peeves and how can we tell that something is a pet peeve?
Well, it's something, it annoys you. I mean, oftentimes to the point where you really can't tolerate the person who manifests that behavior. And you don't necessarily have a rational, sometimes you do. You try to rationalize it, but you don't necessarily have an explanation for it. You just don't like it.
Just something that gets on our nerves, as we'd say in Jamaica.
Yes. But
Yes.
you see, I think it is grounded in personality, because the same way that we have differences, we have varying differences for tolerance in so many areas. You mentioned some of the classic issues about being late. Now, there's certain personality types who, for them, time is a very elastic quantity, and they're never on time.
Yes.
But then you have another kind of person who is always on time. They really try their best to be on time. Now, these are personality traits. So it's not that the person sets out to be late or sets out to be on time. That's the nature of their personality. Now, if you have to coexist with someone who manifests some element that you find really objectionable, then it's going to put a strain on that relationship.
Yes, that is
So
true.
in a workplace, that's why we have certain standard operating procedures, certain rules that we try to follow or we try to impose, because it offends some people. There's some people who won't be offended by it. Now, the other element of this, besides just straight personality, there's a psychologist by the name of Carl Jung, and he has a very interesting concept called the shadow. Just like how in reality, you, Zidane, you have a shadow.
Yes.
When the light falls on your body, you create your own shadow. All of us have a shadow. Now, Jung construct of shadow, that every one of us, there is a part of your personality, a part of yourself that you dislike, that you're uncomfortable with, that you wish wasn't so. Now, anyone who you see who manifests that, you automatically dislike them. You're uncomfortable around them because that's an element of your own self. Let me give you a very common example. Look, there's some people who are not very, they don't like public display of affection and sexuality. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And there are many people, and for their personal reasons and moral reasons and so on. But then someone who flagrantly and publicly displays sexuality and sensuality and public affection, they automatically find that person objectionable, because that's an element of their own self that they would not do. So their pet, it can also be a pet peeve in a sense, because that's something that they would not do. They find objectionable. And if you are around them and you're doing that, then they find you objectionable too. So those are the range that govern these things. There are a couple of the basic ones. Someone's, like one, for example, the toothpaste. Was that on your list?
No, I don't think that one was on my list.
Squeezing the toothpaste, probably why? Because the manufacturers have provided a solution. There was a time when the toothpaste tube was fairly firm. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
And inevitably, you'll find people, there are those who squeeze from the bottom, there are those who squeeze from the middle. Which one are you? Where you stay?
I'm from the middle.
So they know. No. So you understand what happens now when
Yes.
somebody who they go in the bathroom and they pick out toothpaste and say, "My God," they spend the whole time trying to smooth it out.
Yes, bring it up. Yes.
Yeah, but now most toothpaste tubes now are flexible. So it writes itself and so on. So the manufacturer probably did something about that. Another one that we don't talk about a lot because it's a gender related thing. Leaving the toilet seat up.
Mm, yes. Yes, I can tell you about that one. Many times I've heard women complain of that one, in different form of relationships, whether it be sibling or a
Right?
spouse or something.
But
It
my
it
my,
it
my, my
happen.
answer to them tongue in cheek is that, but why do you go into the bathroom back ways? Why don't you go in forward so you can approach the bathroom, you realize that it's up, and then you provide a corrective measure. Why do you start by just backing in? You know, so
Yes.
it goes. Those are some of the ranges of things. So depends on how deep it is in the personality. It could be a deal breaker for a relationship.
Mm,
It could make working with somebody objectionable. Say for example, this one, the persons who offended by the sound of loud chewing or chewing with your mouth open. Now, usually very early in life, if we are being raised by parents and they try to put some things in place at the table, no loud chewing, you close your mouth and you, so that if you're in a situation and there's somebody who is just, you know, talking and eating and chewing with their mouth wide open and making all kind of sounds with their mouth and so on, you see people kind of looking at them kind of funny. And
yes.
so these are some of the things that make life uncomfortable, and it could be a deal
Yes.
breaker because you that person every time that it keeps coming up, and
And there's
it
no
presents
escape.
a problem. It makes life hard.
Yes, it does. And here's one pet peeve that a listener has shared, which is quite uncommon, but it relates back to that personality aspect. This person says, "My pet peeve is pastors putting on the H on words that don't need an H and leaving it off where it should be. I tune them out." And so there, that is someone who appreciates the proper pronunciation and probably phonology as well, in just how things are orated for her or him.
You've heard that statement when I learned in school. You must emphasize your H's, your ignorant ass. You know,
Yes, yes,
and we call it speaky spokey, yeah, because
yes,
the
yes,
person is trying very hard to speak properly, but they don't understand the rules. So yes, that's a pet peeve. That it can be oft, oftentimes pet peeves make you look less in the eyes of the person who is observing,
hmm
so that you really need to your effectiveness as a communicator. So we're talking about it in the public sphere, then in the private sphere, then in the classroom, then in the workplace. It has all kind of implication. The person
Oh, yes, the
uh, um
fillers. Yes,
um then we have the other one, see it, and see it, and z. So no,
yes,
it positions the person in a very objectionable place. So
mhm.
one has to literally, you have to set out to correct these things if you wish to go forward in life. Why do I say that?
Mm.
In 100 milliseconds, people make decisions about you by that
Wow.
first impression. That's 100 milliseconds. Likability is the shortest path to believability and trust. If people like you, they
Mm.
will believe
Yes.
you and they'll trust you. If they don't like you, the converse. They will not believe you and they will not trust you. So you are in the public domain and you are emphasizing your age as an ignorant, huh? Or you constantly are um 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 right?
Mhm.
People start to tune you out.
Yes, that's
So
very
that's
true.
that's where somebody, a speech coach, could help you now. Once you feel it, just pause. Just pause. So you can learn to overcome some of those. But oftentimes, to get a person to move beyond their pet peeves, oftentimes it's hard because they back to what Jung talks about. It's something deep inside them, and they
Mhm.
don't really understand that.
Digging into self to first identify or even acknowledge what others are seeing.
Right, because some of them are just harmless, huh? But some of them are, offensive based on your culture and upbringing.
Right, exactly. But we'll pause there. And listeners, don't go anywhere. We're here with our special guest, Dr. Lakem Simaj, and we're talking pet peeves. We'll be back after this short break.
Wayne, you know Flo Yardan Road now faster than ever?
Yeah, my virgin just get it.
Him love it, though.
Especially the 200 megabit speed and getting a Samsung tablet or phone for $999 plus GCT. You know you got the phone
So, you coming home now?
right after I pass the board.
There's never been a better time to get the invaluable value of Flow Yard Road. Sign up and get fiber fast internet at home, unlimited social, YouTube, talk and text for just $4,999 plus GCT. And save big on a Samsung phone or tablet. Conditions apply.
Ooh la la! I see what I want at the Phosphorus Super Sale, March 21 to 31, Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. Come get your wires, breakers, chandeliers, wall lamps, LED bulbs, and so much more. Shop in Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. You can't afford to miss it. Come shop, come save at Phosphorus Super Sale, March 21 to 31. See you there at Phosphorus.
Manchester Kite Festival and Family Fun Day comes alive Easter Monday, April 10th at Kurt Vine Sports Club, Manchester. Attractions, go-kart, bounce house, rock climbing, lots of games and surprises. Plus, we got free health checks. Admission, adults $1,000, children $700, toddlers free. Ticket outlets at Heavens, Fesco Mandeville, Fontana Pharmacy, first in lineja.com. Featuring Kevin Downswell, Little Kish, Flexible Suede, Tourist, hosted by Chrissy Entertainer Lawman. Come see a kite, no man. The best kite will win $50,000. Yes, $50,000. Food and refreshment will be on sale.
Make an impact on your career. Earn real money. Get 3 to 4 local and international certification in practical nursing and early childhood education with free CXC or CAPE subjects in 6 to 12 months at Distinction College, located at 26 Hagley Park Road, Kingston, 6 Nugent Street, Spanish Town, and Ocho Rios. Earn global certificates in 3 months in geriatric nursing, phlebotomy, childcare. We have the lowest school fees around. Classes begin very soon. Call us 356-4167.
Welcome back, listeners, to the Family Station, and we're talking pet peeves on Family Time with our special guest, Dr. Lakem Simaj. And Dr. Simaj, here's another pet peeve coming in from Paula Powell. She says, "Good evening. A pet peeve is hearing the word violence pronounced violence and not violence." And so there it is.
There are many of those, especially media. There was a time in Jamaica, when we had just 2 radio stations and so on, and people who were on air got training in terms of how to pronounce words. Now it seems as if that doesn't exist anymore. I remember doing a radio program one night and talking to people who came from the older days in radio, and asked them, how did we get to the stage where there's so much bad pronunciation?
Yes.
Because look, if you're talking patois, there's proper patois, and there is just butchering the language, all right?
Absolutely.
All right?
Absolutely.
Now, one of them, in fact, the person who was a technical operator for the show, he said he gave his experience that he was part of JBC long way back, and he was trained for 3 months before he was allowed to do a time signal.
Wow.
All right.
That is amazing.
Now, here comes the time now for his debut. He opened the mic, but forgot to open his mouth. And you know, in radio, dead air is the kiss of death.
Absolutely.
Just the anxiety to be on air for the first time.
You got
And
to
guess
him.
what? His training had to go back over another 3 more months of training. But that's what it was, because so that person mentioned in the pronunciation of a word. Some people I know, there's one person who died last year. She would frequently post things on Twitter regarding bad pronunciation that she's experiencing on television or on radio. You know, so that clearly is one that offends a lot of people. In the break a while ago, I explained one of my pet peeves. I don't know if it's one of yours. One of mine, hearing the same commercial over and over and over and over again.
Well, it depends on the commercial for me. If it's one of those ones that is catchy and quite to my liking, I'll enjoy it for a period of time.
Okay,
absolutely.
but even something is catchy, but for a period of time after that, I said, my God.
Yes, here we go again.
Yeah. So I'm sure, again, as a psychologist, what that does is it helping any more people to certainly, first of all, I have no interest in the product, because even if I did, they have driven me away from it. Don't they think that people, there's a certain point, you get to a point, almost like any stimuli. There's a look, somebody, a touch, there's something called an intimate touch.
Mm-hmm.
But someone else touching you in the same way is annoyance. And even something that's intimate, if it goes on and on and on and on, it becomes painful. So it's the same thing. I would suggest that even there's a commercial and you have the one commercial and you keep hearing it again and again and again. My pet peeve, my inclination is to change the station to escape once I hear that commercial comes on.
And such is the annoyance that you'd have because you are trying to escape that source of annoyance for you, the origin of the stimuli.
Exactly, and that's a very important concept, escape. I'm sure that when people are faced with pet peeves, the inclination is, how can I escape? So as I said before, it can be a deal breaker in a relationship. It can make working at a particular place annoying, because you're working with somebody who
riles you up.
I've heard of situations in a workplace where there are people who literally steal people's food,
Mm-hmm.
or sample people's food, put it that way. You go in the fridge and you say something, but that's not done. But the others who believe that, but it's there. I just take that little bit, I just tasted it and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, you can't take my food like that. So those are the kind of things that make working with some people, working in some places, just objectionable, because the things that they do are not acceptable to you.
So Dr. Simaj, on that point, as we even touch into the workplace, and can pet peeves then be considered dangerous, seeing that it's a source of annoyance? And if we have annoyance being repeated in a particular environment, which may not necessarily be the most pleasant, can we have a danger if we have a particular pet peeve?
I wouldn't go to the point of danger, but annoyance can get to the point of, again, escape. You want to escape. Let's take, for example, sexual harassment. Because some pet peeves are illegal and have legal implication. So, for example, there's some people, some men, who automatically address women in a sort of a familiar
Oh yes.
manner.
Oh yes.
Overly familiar manner, right? And oftentimes they mean no harm by it, supposedly. But there are women who object to being addressed in that
Yes,
manner.
they don't appreciate it. It's a sore point for many Jamaican women now.
Exactly. And let me tell you one that I maybe some women will admit to this one. There are some men. Once a woman is handed them a trophy or a certificate or something on stage, they have this belief that they're entitled to a kiss.
Yes, it is a part, almost a hidden part of culture that we have here in Jamaica.
I think it's one of our previous
I see where you're going.
You know, one of our previous governor general, I think, established it as a, you know. But anyway, but there are women women are more generalized to be uncomfortable with the public display of affection. Put it that way. There's some women who will not even hold their husband hand in public. They're very private in their life. So to have somebody kiss them in public is offensive. And I don't think a woman should have to. I have seen a woman handing out a certificate or a trophy, and she practically doing the limbo, bending back, because the man insists. Then the man takes the trophy and he grabs her hand and pulls her into him and so on. And he doesn't read her body language. She's offended by this. But there are a lot of men who, I don't know if they consciously seize the opportunity to get a kiss, or believe that they're entitled to a kiss is part of the package. The fact that I got a certificate, I should get a certificate and a kiss.
Yeah, I want to throw something in the mix, Dr. Simaj, because I am not advocating for this practice, but I have a friend who would say he likes to play the joker's advocate. Could it be that some of these men have a pet peeve in that if they are not greeted a particular way, or the response is not in what they would expect, then usually it leads to some kind of derogatory tone or some styling or disrespect that comes after? Could it be that they have a pet peeve?
Of course they do. But as I say, and we have no right to impose our needs, desires, expectation on other human beings.
Yes, I echo that sentiment, sir.
No, so no one was put here for your fun, right? So that's entitled. That's part of what maturity is, growing up. Now, children do all kinds of things that they get away with, and part of being socialized that you don't do that in public. You don't say that. But yes, so companies, as we talk about sexual harassment now, companies develop policies regarding sexual harassment, because you're not supposed to turn the workplace into a place that makes somebody uncomfortable.
Yes, it's not a dating lounge.
Some years ago, I was asked to do an intervention with a company because there's a particular man. Most of the women were just refused to work in the area that he was.
Right, that's terrible.
I mean, as a woman came in the area, this was at a hospitality facility, he would undress her with his eyes.
Oh my.
His facial expressions and his...
Yes.
You understand? You get the picture?
Yes, and I know some persons in Jamaica refer to it. Some may call it the broke neck syndrome that some have when the woman may walk by, and sometimes just how the person looks staring and the intensity of the stare says a lot without even him saying it.
Exactly. So that's why. So we have codified that now. That's part of sexual harassment. So you may get pleasure from doing it, but there are a lot of persons. So in the public context, your the pet peeve, one way or the other, the recipient, the experiential person experiencing it, that's where the problem comes in. So that now we try to get as many of those things out of the workplace, because it makes the workplace very uncomfortable. But that other part of us in the relationship, oftentimes I tell people very early in the relationship, something that's a pet peeve, don't just address it. Don't just tolerate it quietly.
Yes.
Because
Dr. Simaj, I hope one of your pet peeves is not persons cutting you because we have to go to a break.
not at all. After many years, I'm used to that.
Okay, I'm happy to hear. So remember, listeners, you can call into the studio lines or you can share your comments on Facebook and YouTube so you can be involved. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break.
Ooh la la, I see what I want at the Phosphorus Super Sale, March 21 to 31, Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. Come get your wires, breakers, chandeliers, wall lamps, LED bulbs, and so much more. Shop in Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. You can't afford to miss it. Come shop, come save at Phosphorus Super Sale, March 21 to 31. See you there at Phosphorus.
Colgate Triple Action. 3 benefits for a deep clean. As a mother, you always want to give the best to your family and to make them happy. With Colgate Triple Action, you give them 3 reasons to smile. Cavity protection, whiter teeth, and fresh breath. A unique formula with a minty flavor they will love. Colgate Triple Action. Find it at your favorite store.
Get ready for another inspiring show this Testimony Tuesday inside Alive, 1 to 5, March 28, packed with inspirational stories and island-flavored music. 1:45, we bring you the brain-testing Menticize, the Listener Speak Edition. Stick around for Prayer Blast at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 inside the evidence, we hear part 2 of the life-changing testimony of Jahir, from Muslim to Christian. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit with marriage officer, justice of the peace, and pastor of the Port Maria United Church, Reverend Donald Williams. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. March 28th with me, Sarah, and the chirpy one on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Everybody feeling alive, just the spirit feeling alive. Get your healing and come alive.
Welcome back to Family Time, and we're talking pet peeves with our special guest, Dr. Lakem Simaj. We want to facilitate some feedback from our listeners and viewers. On YouTube, Sandra Walker says, my pet peeve is when someone tells lies, especially if I didn't ask them a question. Andrea Smith says her pet peeve is reading a public poster with the wrong spelling of words. Posters should be proofread before they are posted. And we have a couple of voice notes that our studio can go ahead and share with us.
Well, for me, the things that make me go, is dirty plate in your sink. If I come and see that, I am most uncomfortable. Your yard not sweep, I'll get the broom and start sweeping it. I'm very uncomfortable about those things. Those are the main ones of my life. Not washing up your dishes nor sweeping your yard. It's so hard for me. I cannot even stay because I'm uncomfortable.
Good evening to you all, Dr. Samaj, everyone on the panel. Good evening. Things that get on top of my nerves. Peeing on the toilet, moving things, not putting it back. I can mention more, but I don't want to stay long. Yeah, those things really get on my nerves.
Thank you to our listeners who have contributed thus far, and we encourage others of you who would like to share. You can WhatsApp, text us, or you can voice note us at 876-997-3125, or you can call the studio lines at 876-968-9228. 8327 or 876-968-8328 to participate. And I'm sure Dr. Simaj would be happy to respond to some of those voice notes. And
You're hearing some of these things, that clearly your effectiveness as a human being is contingent, and you're not displaying too many of those other people's pet peeves. Huh? I was in a restaurant a couple of weeks ago, and there was a woman at a couple of booths away from me. She and her daughter, and she had her phone on and she was having a conversation with somebody with her phone on speaker. No, that there's a lot of pet peeves around that type of thing.
Yeah, lack of consideration.
There's a man sitting to the right of me who went over to her and said, "Listen, I've put up with that for the last 10 minutes. Please take it off speakerphone." Right, and I mean, other people around applauded.
So Dr. Simaj, we might look at that scenario then, and we might see an amicable solution. But couldn't we see that a fight could break out in
easily?
Because when we consider skipping a line, or maybe there's someone who has parked poorly, and the right other scenarios around that particular day and what that person might be going through, and the right set of personalities clashing. Couldn't that fight just break out, as you would have said?
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why in public spaces we need somebody who would, quote unquote, keep the peace. Somebody who is dining there shouldn't have to be the one to go over. The waitress, I'm sure I said, please, if you don't mind, could you put your tune to your ear and speak softly, because you are impacting other people here, because it's important that happens, so that is indeed the problem. So if people take it upon themselves to do these things, you could have a confrontation. Skipping the line, that's a common one. But someone to ask you, but you can't and insist that. But I just have two things, I said, but no, there's a line for 10 and less. But there are plenty of people over there. But and you are supposed to now let them in. No. So it's about imposing yourself on other people. Yes.
In that case, is it that those persons, and we ourselves might be in that category as well, that we're just oblivious to what is really taking place, and how our inconveniencing others really is an annoyance to them, or just disrupting their own peace, and maybe we just don't care, we just say, sure, I want this, and I don't really business how that next individual will
all of that. And there's a word called emotional intelligence. Absence of emotional intelligence, not realizing how is it you are impacting on other people's feelings, that you are causing other people to be upset, it's kind of children, children are very egocentric. They see things purely from their perspective. If you ask a child below a certain age to draw a picture, that what would I see? I'm looking outside now. I like to draw a picture of what I'm seeing. It's impossible for a young child to do that. They're drawing a picture from where they're seeing what they're seeing.
Yes, their perspective.
To put themselves, and it's unfortunate that there are many adults who cannot put themselves in somebody else's perspective to realize that this is not what you're doing is not. So that thing about playing your music loud. In public. Well, look, it's even more so. You ever hear some cars pass you?
Oh my goodness! I know our viewers and listeners would be upset if I didn't mention the Yang bikes, which have now been addressed in the new Road Traffic Act. But they cause such great annoyance, especially in the heights when we had a lot of virtual meetings. But definitely the cars as well.
So absolutely. So that's the kind of thing. That's why we need some procedure and some policies and so on to help to ameliorate, because Sigmund Freud says that the biggest problems that we have, one, is the fragility of our body vis-a-vis the environment. And two, the inadequacies of the rules that we come up with to ameliorate our behavior one to another. So it's a constant thing, constant upgrade, constant. And if you notice that why living in many places in the United States, very different than say living in Jamaica. First of all, in most communities, in especially residential communities, there are strict policies in terms of what you can and cannot do with your property.
Yes.
What color can you paint the wall? What because so as to maintain. I had a very interesting experience. Oakland, you know that's Oakland at high rise.
Yes.
It was one of the first major, high rise, high density living, and I had a project to do with that. In that, the first cohort of owners, I developed a program to teach them how to coexist in a high rise.
Interesting.
Because let's face it, many Jamaicans don't understand the concept of common area. All right?
Yes.
You can't park your car under your window.
No, that won't work.
The car has to be parked in the parking lot. You can't hang your underwear over the window. You can't do that. Nothing from you can extrude because you're impacting other people's perspective.
The environment is impacted.
So for the first couple of years, Oakland, the owners of the property did not manage it. Meaning that there was a management team of professional managers put in place to set the rules. That's why even to this day, many strata properties in Jamaica are in trouble. One, collecting strata dues, collecting maintenance fee. Because that's a major pet peeve. Huh? There are many people, but don't pay for the place already.
Yeah, why you need it?
They don't pay enough. And,
not more.
Yeah. And they refuse to pay. So the common area, the lights.
Yeah, deteriorates.
The place has to deteriorate because in the US, it is very, very strict. Look at what happened in Jamaica in terms of zoning. Because we have such weak zoning laws. It's after people have converted the area completely by open a shop down here, and then you have a garage next door and so on.
Quite reactive.
We call them pet peeves, but we have to look into the context of pet peeves. If there are things that irritate you, a colleague of mine said there are two places that you should not be made to feel uncomfortably: in your own company or in your own home.
Company one would be a stretch for many.
So that in your home, no. In your own company, or in a place that you are supposed to be a manager, in the place that you spend 8 hours a day working, you're not supposed to feel uncomfortable. All right? What are the things that are making people feel uncomfortable? And we have to ameliorate our behavior one to another. There are three things that my big pet peeves about Jamaica. One is crime. Two is corruption.
Oh my. Oh,
and the third one is coarseness. Now, every survey done, show that Jamaicans don't have a problem with corruption, The only concern is if they're not getting any brockings out of it. You see, they don't. Anybody who is
far-fetched.
The question is, if I can get something out of it, right? So that the notion of how we treat each other. So that's why, again, we introduce the concept of shadow. Then there's a concept of also values. Is there a common set of values that help in our behavior one to another? Should we be more considerate? The golden rule: do unto others as have them do unto you.
Yes, that we don't say those things as often as probably we ought to, especially with the younger generation.
Absolutely. And that being emotionally intelligent and being inconsiderate.
Yes.
How are you impacting somebody else? the fact that does somebody need to be bombarded by your music, by your, that's why the phone have you have earphones,
Earphone.
you have earbuds, you have all of those options you have.
Yeah, multiple solutions.
Yeah.
But I want to hear more from Dr. Simaj, and I'm sure that our listeners do also. But we'll hear more from him after this break. And just so you know, the numbers for the Family Life Ministries head office in Kingston are 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere, pardon me. We're entering our final break. We'll be back soon.
Jamaica's gangs are like packs of rats. They live in filth and try and drag us all in there with them, spreading the disease of violence and corruption everywhere. But like a pack of rats, they can be eliminated with your help. If you have information on gangs, call Crime Stop on 311. This message is brought to you by Crime Stop and their marketing partners, Lime and NCB.
Reverend Dr. Kerry Dennis, deliverance practitioner and prophet from Tampa, Florida, will be setting the captives free on Good Friday, April 7, 7 p.m. at the Jamaica Theological Seminary, 14 to 16 West Avenue, Kingston 8. If you're sick, lame, can't walk, blind, Jesus will heal you. Bound by witchcraft, Jesus can set you free. Come believing God, for whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Fun and cheese and refreshments will be served. Sponsored by Acts 222 Ministries of Tampa, Florida. For more information, visit www.kerrydennis.org.
Welcome back. It's 16 past the hour of 6, and you're tuned in to Love 101. This is Family Time, brought to you by the Family Life Ministries. Family Life Ministries provides counseling for people with all kinds of challenges from all walks of life. Listen out for our numbers in Kingston and Portmore at the end of this program. Remember, we're live on Facebook and YouTube. So tune into the program via the Love 101 Facebook and YouTube pages. The topic today is, tell us, what are your pet peeves and how do you deal with them? And we're talking with transformational psychologist Dr. Lakem Simaj. Dr. Simaj, in 2012, the Wellcome Institute and Newcastle University found that the most unpleasant noise to the human brain is actually a fork scraping against a glass, followed closely by nails on a chalkboard. And we see where we've discussed, different areas of how pet peeves can really disrupt life. But how is it that we actually go about not making pet peeves be such a great annoyance to us? Or how is it that we learn to reduce the impact that they may have on us so that we don't end up in those bad sort of situations? And how do we even encourage others to, change their behavior from a standpoint that they grow and develop?
Ooh, that's a hard question, because you are only responsible for yourself. All right? You're responsible for your children to a certain point, in terms of how you socialize them. But so one thing that I do, there's a notion that says, listen, if you're in an environment and you're finding that environment oppressive, punishing in terms of you escape. All right? Now, one thing, meditation is a common part of my reality. And when I'm in public, I'm waiting in an area, I have some place that I have to be. I have no control of people around me. I just go into a meditative state and just lock out everything. I just block everything out completely. And it enables me to tolerate the loud talking, the bad manners, all the things happening around me. I just go inward. So that's one thing I would suggest to persons, that if you're in a situation that you can't do anything at all about, learn how to go inward, how to shut out the world completely, and you just look inside.
So this is a public solitude that we're speaking.
I love the word. Yes, public solitude. So you can. So, for example, you're on a public transport. You're on a bus. Huh? You're in a public. You're in a trapped area where and the kind of you go in, and that's one of the things that I have in my briefcase, my go bag, and so on. I always have a pair of earphones. And by the way, I walk with two kinds of earphones. I have earbuds, because those are very convenient for us. Put them in, earbuds. And I have the ones, the cord one. So for example, on the airplane, you can just plug it in and just put it in your ears, and so you blot out everything that's going on. So that's one. Now the other thing is that you cannot change what you tolerate. You cannot change what you tolerate. So early in a relationship, early in an interaction, state your concern, state your preference, state what you're annoyed with. The example of that caller that mentioned about the dirty plates and dirty yard and all that kind of thing. Look, there's a wonderful book by Irving Goffman, Behavior in Public Places. It's a classic. We all have on-stage and backstage behavior. There's certain things you're not going to do on stage.
No.
you hear a knock at the gate. Before you go to the gate, you peep out and look and see who.
Yes, and check.
Do you have to go change your clothes? Huh? Do you have to go comb your hair? Do you have to go wash your face? Right? But it seems as if much of that is broken down now. As some people on the road, I wonder if, one, there was no light when they got up in the morning, and two, they have no mirror in the house.
Oh my.
So they never realize that and that don't match. They never realize that they came out in their underwear. No? So these are some of the areas. So that you cannot, if you have a situation. I had when I was in college, and there's a place that I worked while in college, and the person who I worked with always shouting at people, always shouting, and just tell you he could never talk to you in a pleasant voice.
Yeah, the tone.
And one day I went to and said, "Sir, listen, that is not acceptable for me. I hear you shout at everybody, and I'm encouraging you. Do not try it with me." "No, are you threatening me?" "Oh no, sir, I'm not threatening you. I'm just promising you, sir, that it would not be nice. You have no right to speak to people like that." No, nobody had said it to him. Nobody had pointed it out. I heard that
he's just oblivious of it, of the impact on others.
In the bauxite sector, one company some years ago, the manager from Australia, every other word for him was a bad word.
My dear. Oh my.
That's how he talks. That's how he talks. And the workers were quite. But what if we talk back to him like that?
It wouldn't be pleasant.
It's going to start. It's going to escalate. So I had to intervene and point out. But no. That's the way you talk in Australia. We don't do that in Jamaica. You talk to workers like that, they are going to answer you. And then you're going to hear insubordination and so on. So we need to be more conscious how we impact other people, how we make other people's life unpleasant. And you see, again, I mentioned the United States and some communities that, look, I have seen things in places in Florida whereby the garbage containers are specified. The color and shape and design of the garbage containers are specified. When they should be put out. It leads to a more orderly society and a cleaner society.
Yes, and
because the automation that just picks up the garbage and dumps it and so on, you won't go now and put out a little barrel and so on. So understanding pet peeves, the more we understand what things we can do to make our living with each other more comfortable.
Yes, and that is a central theme that I've been hearing, and we've been echoing that sentiment of really considering others, in various forms of relationship, be it family, be it even a stranger, because I know one major pet peeve of I am yet to meet someone who has not shared this concern. Customer service in Jamaica, so it can even be a stranger, and then
Dreadful.
even indeed, and even a close companion that we may have, and it is really about taking consideration for the next person. So, Dr. Simaj, if you were to give an encouragement, a final word to a listener, what would it be concerning pet peeves?
I would say, first of all, the Bible talks about mote and beam.
Yes.
Again, evaluate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Evaluate yourself. How are you impacting negatively on other people? How are you trespassing on their person? Ask for feedback. Ask for feedback and take it gently and thank the person for the feedback.
Yes, and that's how we get rid of the beam in the eye there.
Exactly, the mote and the beam. Also, again, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. The golden rule, see how it applies? And just see what can you do to make the persons that you live with and around to make their life more comfortable. How can you anticipate a positive outcome? What can you do just to make things a little more pleasant? There's so many awful things happening around us. What can we do? And that's many of the pet peeves are tied to areas that that cause distress, cause people to be uncomfortable, and so on. What can we do to reduce them, to make things more? Look, people look forward to being around you. People look forward to. There are people when they come to
Enjoy
work.
your company.
You feel so good around them. Other people, as they come in, oh God, the day done now, they mash up.
Oh yes, dark clouds coming with them.
yes. So that consciousness, be conscious of how you impact other people, and raise your emotional intelligence. How do people feel? How do you make other people feel? How do you make them feel? And how can you improve the people around you in terms of how your interaction with them? Ask yourself, if I do this, how will it be perceived? If you have doubts, don't do it.
I like that. And that is a good way to end from our special guest, Dr. Lakem Simaj, who has been sharing with us on the topic of pet peeves. We want to thank him for sharing so honestly and relatably as well. I have the feeling that a wide range of the audience would have been able to understand and grasp what has been said. And we want to just thank you, the listener, for being here with us. And if you have any questions of a personal nature, or you're concerned about a family friend or maybe a family member or just your friend, call us at Family Life Ministries. For a center in Portmore at 117 Cecile Avenue, call 876-939-7917. For more information on our services or for our counselors in Kingston and other parts of the island, contact our head office at 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. Note that appointments can only be made by calling the offices. Otherwise, to keep up to date with what's happening with Family Life Ministries and our programs, find us on Facebook at Family Life Ministries and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries at FLMJA. Before we leave you, here is this evening's Bible verse. It comes from Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 25. Anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. Join us again next week at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101, as we also will be live on Facebook and YouTube via the Love 101 Facebook and YouTube pages for another informative program. Thanks again to our special guest, Dr. Lakem Simaj, also our show producer, Kathy Gale, Open Door Communications, studio facilitator, Timoy Butler, and of course, you, our listeners and viewers. Stay well, stay safe, stay blessed. I'm Zidane.